All right, this video is going to show you a few steps on how you could make a ceramic jar. First, you want to plan out what shape you would like to use. This is a pretty good generic jar, and I know some of the examples I showed you were cylinders. You can always spruce up a cylinder by turning it into something more exciting. But this is a really great, easy way to make a jar. And it's the same way we started with our cylinder vase. If you would like to make a jar that is actually a shape of something else, maybe you want to start with a double pinch pot, especially if you want an animal-shaped jar. Double pinch pot is the way to go. You're just going to have to make two oversized pinch pots, so it's a very large double pinch pot. We'll still cut off the top, something like that, or cut off wherever you want, and then we'll have the lid to our jar. So this video here just shows how to make a cylinder. Remember, for us, we have been using tubes to wrap our clay around. I'm cutting a pretty perfect rectangle here. I have plastic wrap on my tube. You can use paper if you'd like. We don't want it to go directly on the tubes or else it'll stick. So here I am wrapping it up, and I'm gonna blend the edge together. You may not see in this video me grabbing water and sponge, but as often as you can, after you have hidden the seam on something, on the outside and the inside, or wherever stage you're at, you might want to go grab water and a sponge and make sure everything looks nice. Remember, we need a base, which will just set our cylinder on some clay, a clay slab, and cut out a circle. You want to attach this circle. Now this is a part where you pause after the circle is attached and you decide, wow, this was a really large jar. I can kind of tell how heavy it's going to be. If I take this tube out right now, it may start to sink in on itself, which has happened. So instead, you want to set it on its side for about an hour, or as long as class is, wrap it up and take the tube out the next day, or else you'll get something like this cartoon. A horribly flattened slug-like cylinder. And so that's totally fine to do if you have a lot of clay because you made a very large jar. If you're making a normal sized cylinder, then you might be able to just continue on, or you might want to wait till the next class. So you're going to take your tube out and get another slab of clay and flip your cylinder upside down. So now we're completely sealing the entire cylinder on both sides. Take your time, make sure that you can't see any of the edges that were blended together. There should be no visible seam anywhere. When we have cylinders, if you want to roll it along the table, that's a nice way to make sure it stays flat. In case one side started to get a bump, you can then decide what you want to have as your top or your bottom. Again, if it's too heavy and you let it sit out, this might happen. So you may want to check and see if you should have waited another day. You may want to set it on its side. If you remember from box building, we did key cuts, which meant we cut a shape out when we were cutting off the lids to our boxes. So this is a zigzag key cut. And also note to self, if you open it like I just did, it's going to be very hard to set it back together and make it look nice. So when you cut that key cut, or when you cut the lid off of your jar, you may not want to open it. Just let it stay. You know it's cut, so it will definitely open eventually. But you might want to not open it because then it's hard to put it back together. I love that this is a zigzag, so I'm just going with a monster. So my jar is going to be a little monster. 2 eyes for the handle, and then the zigzag mouth. But you can make any design. You could even take that cylinder vase or cylinder jar and add to it. So maybe it doesn't totally look like a cylinder anymore, but at least you know now that you have a sealed hollow vessel that can be turned into a jar. If you don't want to do a key cut, you can do a traditional lid where you put clay on the inside. So it's almost like putting like a coil, but along the inside of your cut lid, it's a little more challenging. And then that also means you do have to pick up the lid, and you may not connect back together as pretty. But this is a key cut if you forgot and you just saw me cut mine. It just means that you're taking a little different style to your line. You're adding a little bit of some type of shape so that the lid won't slide right off. You need to have a key cut on an animal creature as well if that's the shape of your jar, so you could hide it in the back with just a subtle little indent like this. All right, good luck.